Hey, EDU360, week 7. Let's dive into it. So, just as a reminder, this is closely correlated with behavioral skill 10 in behavior breakthrough, your text. All right, so let's double check where we're at. So far in this semester, midterm, check. Those are done. So, check that off of your list. SAF Meds 2 shall be due this week. Double check with due dates in the announcements section labeled overall course schedule to double check due dates. If life is crazy and you need some modifications and accommodations, please just reach out. And then we've also got a function assignment coming up. Check the due dates on announcements for that. And then again, closely correlated this week with behavioral skill 10. Okay, so I want you to hit pause and first and foremost, just go watch the video. Go watch this link. It's about 3 minutes. It won't take you long, but I just don't think it's necessary to include that where you watch it through Zoom, and it'll be clearer and you'll be able to get more details and have a better picture if you watch that link on your own. So hit pause, go watch that link. Okay, so at this point in the semester, I like to really dive in to watching this video, right? So we talk about what's the first thing? Talk about what are some of the problem, or as we call them, target behaviors, right? Because if you're talking to a parent and you discuss problem behaviors or challenging behaviors, defense goes up, right? But if you're talking about target behaviors or undesired behaviors, it just signals these are behaviors that I want to change. And that's just more well received. So what would those behaviors be for you from that video? Aggression, tantrum behavior, screaming, falling to the floor? Like, which ones to you would be categorized as like, okay, one or two, these are probably the biggest problems here. Let's target these behaviors for change, right? Okay, come up with your behaviors. And then 2, I want you to start evaluating which data collection method do you think is needed? I want to change this student's behavior. I want to change Joshua's behavior. I want to help him have better days. That was probably traumatic for everybody, right? Typical toddler behavior. We should just note that, right? Remember, we're here for realistic expectations, and we're also here to deliver grace to students because we're not expecting perfection as humans. But we could assume that that was a struggle, right? So what type of data collection method would you want to collect on Joshua's behavior? Remember, do you want to take frequency data? Are you counting the occurrences of hitting? And then that's what you're going to use to monitor if what we're doing is working and hitting goes down, or if we're accidentally making things worse and hitting goes up. What about momentary time sampling? So it's a 3-minute video, but let's say you did every 30 seconds. I'm just going to document at that moment if Joshua's displaying disruptive behavior maybe, or tantrum behavior. I'm just going to sample it. Or you're going to just focus on antecedent behavior consequence data. All I care about is what the function of his behavior is, and then that's going to drive interventions and how I need to respond. There's really no right answer here. Okay, so if you're implementing data collection strategies in your classroom, you're going to know if your data collection methods are working, if number 1, you have the time to do it consistently and accurately, and number 2, when you look at your data, does it give you an accurate picture of what you experienced in real life? A couple of things to consider, right? So pick a behavior, pick a data collection method, hit pause here, go back and click that link, and I want you to practice taking data on that behavior. Pause, come back. So if you collected ABC data, what was the function? Right, initially it looked like a tangible motivation, right? From that antecedent, he wanted the peach. The function looks like tangible. I need the tangible. He clearly, peaches is this child's top favorite, right? But did he actually get the peach ever as a consequence? No. So is the function tangible? What were the consistent consequences that he got? Attention. So Joshua's behavior is resulting in him getting a lot of attention, right? So that's going to drive some interventions that I'm going to select and how I talk to Joshua and things that I need to do to change interacting with Joshua, how I respond to Joshua's problem behavior, knowing that he's receiving a lot of attention for problem behaviors and I want to change that. What about the frequency data? Now you've got a starting point to start to monitor. So then how many times did he hit, or how many times is he going to hit tomorrow? And I can start to compare numbers to see if, okay, now I'm going to try minimizing attention. Now I'm going to try a reinforcement system. Now I'm going to try delivering descriptive praise to all the other students that are displaying appropriate behavior and see what that does to Joshua's behavior, right? And I can start to monitor what happens to those numbers, or in momentary time sampling, those percentages, right? That's real life. And that's how we make data-driven decisions. That's a game changer. So based on what you know from your data collection, how are you going to intervene? If you're Joshua's teacher, what would you do differently? I sure hope minimizing attention comes into play. And then think of our strategies. What could help here? Descriptive praise to other students, descriptive praise to Joshua when he's being good, right? And displaying those desired behaviors. Maybe some directed choices and giving him options. Maybe only a banana was not as valuable, so it wasn't an equally valuable option, right? Think of those prevention strategies, those tier 1 prevention strategies, stating things positively, not giving him a lot of attention for his displays of undesired behaviors. We don't want to inadvertently give reactions and interactions that accidentally make problem behaviors worse. So then what is a reinforcer for Joshua here? If I want to set a timer every 30 minutes and if he's good, I need to give him what? Or you get 5 stars and then you're going to get what? What is going to be the potential reinforcer here? I hope you're not saying goldfish crackers. I hope you're not saying animal crackers. I hope you're not saying he can pick the toy. It needs to be attention, right? And he wasn't seeking attention from peers. It's going to have to probably be a quality attention from the teacher. Things to think about. All right, let's dive into all things visuals. This is our behavioral skill 10 for this week. What is it? What am I talking about here? Any visual in an environment that prompts or promotes a certain behavior, right? So if I have on my computer screen a Post-it note that says, don't forget to turn off the tower, which everybody has laptops now, but I do have an old school computer that probably just says my age, right? That visual prompts or promotes what behavior? Turning off the tower, turning off the computer, right? A visual, it can be a written note, it can be a picture, it can be, I'm going to hang a necklace on the front door purely to serve the function of reminding me to get my lunchbox out of the fridge. Whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be a picture of exactly what you want. It can just be a symbol to represent a visual in an environment to prompt or promote a certain behavior. Okay, so why is this relevant for general education teachers to learn? We see this prevalent in special education classrooms with teachers or with students that struggle with functional communication, with highly visual learners, with students that can't read yet, right? We see pictures and reminders posted everywhere. But why is this important for general education teachers to know the importance of this skill, even for middle school and high school teachers? Because it decreases prompting from the teacher. And what are the 2 most common functions of students in classrooms? Attention and escape. So therefore, there's your attention, right? If I want to remove my attention from a student that's maintaining dependence on me, problem behavior, avoidance of a work task because they're waiting for me to come prompt them, then I need to remove myself, but I still need them to follow through with something. So I need to provide a visual of the directions or a symbol of what they need to do so that the prompt doesn't have to come from me as a teacher. This promotes independence. I don't want students to always rely on me. Just because you're attention seeking doesn't mean you can't be independent. To increase those executive functioning skills. I think that this results in a lot of challenging behaviors in classrooms because students have poor executive functioning skills, of problem solving skills, time management, organization of materials, remembering delayed information. All of these things are related to executive functioning skills. And if you want to address executive functioning skill deficits, you give reminders, right? Why do you forget things? Maybe it's because you've got way too much going on and way too much on your plate, but maybe it's just because things slip your mind. And maybe that's how it is for students too. If it's not highly, highly valuable and I don't have an active reminder, I don't know, I might take the trash out when I'm supposed to, but usually I need a visual to do that. Unless it's overpouring and I've got a major trash issue, and then it's a little bit more valuable and more important for me to remember to take the trash out, right? Overall, I want to decrease prompt dependency. What is prompt dependency? It's when a student relies on you as the teacher for help or reminders or attention in order to get a task or activity done. They are dependent on you for prompting, right? It is what it sounds like. Well, we don't want that. You're responsible for way too many students already as it is. You don't have time to constantly be prompting 1, 3, or 5 students that really require a lot from you. Create a visual to decrease that prompting and to decrease giving attention. All right. These are super short little TikTok ones. Let's go through and watch these together. Okay. Oh, okay. So let's look at this one. I really do like this visual. They're like the little stick lights. You can get them at Dollar Tree. But then the teacher touches the light to signal which level her students should be on, or his students. So if you find yourself constantly having to be like, everybody's voice is off. I've said it 3 times. The level that we're on is voice off, right? You could just come up to here. We're at partner chat and you guys are way too loud. I just click off of it and I move up, right? That serves as a visual where you don't have to deliver so much attention. That's the point of visuals, is to decrease that attention. All right, let's look at the next one. What's that called? So she says before they start a lesson, she goes over, sounds like a she goes over expectations. What prevention strategy is that? Antecedent expectations. Before the lesson starts, this is her visual that's guiding expectations. So participation, the fuzzy, you should be working independently. Movement, you need to stay in your seat. Activity, it's an independent work, right? You get it. You can pair a visual with other strategies, right? To promote pro-social behavior, to decrease attention. Another light related to voice levels. Ooh, see that one? I like that. It turns red when there's a warning. So even just the color change, right? That's a visual. That's what I'm talking about. But the teacher doesn't have to say, this is your warning. She doesn't have to yell over everybody, right? Purely by utilizing a visual, it decreases the chances of you delivering attention to problem behavior in a classroom that's motivated by attention. Right. So obviously, like how to go to the bathroom, we see that for smaller children. But also, like if you're a woman, how many public bathrooms do you go into that it says don't flush sanitary products? Or how many bathrooms do you go into that says employees must wash their hands before returning to work? Those are visuals that promotes desired behavior. I love these, right? So here's some gestural interactions, opportunities to respond. But then, right, this means I'm ready. This means I'm not ready. You raise your hand. I don't need to raise my hand and ask to go to the bathroom. By holding this signal up, this teacher already knows that student needs to go to goes to the restroom and then can gesture them on, right? So these are still visuals. It's minimizing attention. Okay. Sorry, I had to chuck some Sprite. Anybody else love Sprite? So good. Okay, let's look at another example. schedules, activities, labeling areas, right? You get the idea. Okay, so I want you maybe on your own to click the rest of those links, but you get it. The point of visuals is to decrease attention, to promote independence. What is going on? Oh Lord, somebody is proud of the visuals. Okay. Oh, now I gotta go through. But you get the idea, right? It's all about minimizing attention to increase independence, especially for attention seeking behaviors. Also, if there's just a skill deficit and I need the reminder because I don't have the executive functioning skills, but especially for attention motivated students, right? So let's check out a couple of examples. Clip charts that show your location. Then I know exactly who's at music, who's at speech, who went to OT. Ooh, here's a visual to guide conflict resolution. Compromise, don't sweat the small stuff, get help, agree to disagree, win-win, pick one, right? How helpful would that be in a stinking middle school classroom? And then you can use that visual to guide problem-solving skills without you walking them through every single step and solving their problems for them. That's prompt dependency. Vocabulary for stating an opinion, right? That's not a fact. When you state it like it's a fact, it upsets people. So if you want to share your opinion, you can say things like, I like, I feel, I think. Perfect visual. Right? Tons of visuals for academics. These are super specific for desired behaviors. Win at the rug. What are the expected behaviors? Here's a visual to guide it so that if I see that none of my friends are looking at me, I can use my visual, maybe not tap on it, right? To signal eyes on me. How about these? Listen, this is soapbox Bailey. I think that teaching and reinforcing students how to wait appropriately, all ages here, this is not for younger kids, is extremely underused in public education. There's so much waiting time. Students are required to wait so much in public education, right? So these are strategies to use to teach to wait. So you'll see like they fill the clock up. I'm filling in tokens. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once I'm it's a visual of how much longer do I need to go? How much longer do I need to go? How much longer do I need to go? Red, yellow, when it gets to green, I'm all done waiting, right? So it's that visual countdown, but it prompts a light at the end of the tunnel. Something good is coming. First, we're going to count down from 5. When you get to 1, we're all done waiting, right? It's a visual guide. You see tons of labels in preschools, where things go. It helps with organization, appropriate behaviors in the classroom, 1 pump up, or in the bathroom, 1 pump of soap, 1 paper towel. Nobody needs 50 of anything. Walking appropriately in the hallway, that could be by your door before you leave, and you review it by just maybe tapping it. And you've gone over it so many times that when you touch the first one, everybody's eyes go forward. You touch the next one, everybody, right? That it's just memorized and students start to respond to not just routines, excuse me, not just consistency, but the visual in itself, right? Overall schedules, so that students can see how much more do I need to go until I get lunch. That's our first then contingency, right? The light at the end of the tunnel is coming, but it helps to have a visual to know exactly how much more is expected of me. Unpacking routines. Materials that I need. 3-pointer options. Wait, almost time. Now it's time to go, right? Specific steps for waiting. You need to have your hands in your lap, your eyes on the teacher, pencils down, staying in your seat, whatever the steps are. What if that's on every student's desk? And as you are using proximity control and rotating throughout the classroom, all you need to do is just touch that visual as a reminder to students that are not meeting your expectations. So you're minimizing attention and they're not reliant on huge prompting levels from you, that they can start to respond to a visual. All right, so think on your own. What are a couple of routines that are challenging throughout the school day that maybe a visual could help? I would say the biggest ones behaviorally are transitions. Oh Lord, with the transitions. Maybe accepting critical feedback. That can be hard for students. What if you had a visual before you know you have to go deliver some critical feedback to somebody, hey, I'm going to give you some news you might not like. These are the steps to do that appropriately. That would guide, promote desired behavior. What about, let's see, coming inside from recess nicely? And you use this visual before you go out for recess. What about a waiting visual on each individual desk, like we talked about? It could really be helpful. What about sitting in the chair appropriately at every desk or at every group? How can you create a visual that is positively stated and age appropriate? What do visuals need to look like for middle school and high schoolers? Well, obviously, probably written words, right? Those pictures are not going to be well received. What if you use fun lingo and you relate it to like whatever the popular movie is right now or music lyrics, right? But in the end of the day, I'm still promoting quiet when I talk, no talking when the teacher is talking, right? That's not positively stated, right? But I can create a visual that I can utilize to decrease prompting. What about written steps to check off for completing a bell ringer? Sit down, get out a piece of paper and pencil, check the board, check your work, turn it in, get out a book, and wait quietly. And the steps are written out. Might not be so prompt dependent from you as students, right? Where are you going to post it? Just up on your smart board at each individual desk. I'm going to write individual reminders that are needed for students on a Post-it note. What's that going to look like? How are you going to reference it? You're going to point to it up front, walk by each desk and touch it. Is there a gesture and a signal that goes with it? Like, eyes on me, right? The big gesture of nice hands down. Everybody quiet, right? Those are visuals too. They're gestural visuals. But think about it this way too. A gestural visual minimizes attention a little bit, but they're still reliant on you. But if the visual is just there to serve as that reminder, do they still need you? And then don't forget, visuals really should be temporary. I want them to be independent and I don't want them to need prompting at all. So it probably starts with I'm constantly prompting them. So that's annoying and I don't have time for it. So now I'm going to utilize a visual. But don't forget to remove the visual so that they're completely independent. We don't want them prompt dependent on visuals either. We want them completely independent. All right, so think on your own. What visuals do you use in your current life to guide your behavior? What are you using? My daughter has a chore chart on our refrigerator. I am very old school and I don't have it with me right now, old school planner. Like I handwrite and highlight everything. I can't do it on an app. Google, that's not enough for me. I will email myself reminders throughout the day so that when I go check my email at the end of the day, those emails that I have sent to myself serve as a reminder. What do you use? A grocery list? Do you text yourself the list so that you've got it? What types of visuals do you use? Do you check off how many times a week you work out so that there's a visual accountability and you're like seeing and holding yourself accountable for it? These are all examples of real life visuals. They work for all of us. A Post-it note on the back door to remember a lunchbox, agendas and calendars, timers on phones with reminders. Anybody set, I shouldn't even say it, I'm gonna set all y'all's Alexas off, but right? Set a timer for this on Thursday at 5 p.m. Remind me to do this. And then it goes, heck yeah, man. Sign of the times. And it's helpful. To-do lists. I email myself point sheet. Really, that's a visual for students in schools where the point sheet should serve as a prompt for those pro-social behaviors, but not if you've listed them all in a negative way. Then you're prompting the wrong behaviors. Desk reminders of behavior. All right, let's look at a couple of these. right? So this is a visual promoting behavior. And they know when they finish the board, they get what, right? It's that light at the end of the tunnel. There's multiple different types of visuals. Let's check out another one. Right? So the don't bug me slug. And I think depending on your personality and how you sell it, like that could work in a middle school classroom, 1,000%, right? It signals in your seat, no asking peers questions, no coming to ask me questions right now. It is just independent time. And that just serves as the visual so that you're not constantly having to shut down kids and constantly remind students to be on task. All right, y'all hit the next couple of links on your own from the PowerPoint provided, but let's look at a few other examples, right? So at the top with these little clips, right? Like maybe they're earning reinforcers and whoever's got the most, then the red table here is going to get free time, maybe, right? That's a visual of earning all good things by noticing desired behavior. Let's work together to build a monster. Like it's kind of like Hangman, right? But it's a good thing. I get the arms when you do this. When I notice you doing good things, then we're going to put the feet on the monster. When I notice you responding to the visual on your own without my help, I'm going to give you a hat for the monster, right? If you don't pair your visual with reinforcement, the visual is not valuable and means nothing to me. There has to be payoff. There has to be something good for responding to the visual and needing less of your help. To start with, only temporary. Right? Filling up the cookie jar. I am working for. Those are our commonly known token systems. I feel like this Mr. Potato Head, like complete the Mr. Potato Head. I feel like you could legit make this funny, even in a middle school or high school classroom. We're going to build Mr. Potato Head. Groups can pick a part as they earn it. One student that does something great, whatever it is, as we finish paragraphs of whatever the task is, right? Then go pick the eyes for Mr. Potato Head. You go pick the ears. All right, it's your turn. You go pick the hat. All right, red table. Pick the shoes, right? That could be fun. It seems like infantile, but if you sell it and it's paired with reinforcement, then when Mr. Potato Head is fully built, do they get 10 minutes of phone time? Do they get 10 minutes of free time? If it's paired with reinforcement, Mr. Potato Head is amazing, right? They're building the flower to get to have lunch in the classroom. We're building the fishbowl to get what? A classroom dance party, something, right? Key components, things to remember about visuals. They have to be positively stated. If you focus on the negatives, like don't fight, don't hit, don't kick, don't get out of your seat, don't interrupt me, what are you going to get more of? Negative behaviors, because that's just what you've poured out your attention to. They have to be specific. It has to be an effective prompt. It can't be so general that I don't know what expectations you have of me. I need to know exactly what you want me to do so that I can rise to that occasion by responding to the visual. And I have to know that this visual is valuable to me, because if I respond to the visual alone, I'm going to get a reinforcer. And if you do all of that, man, classrooms can run so smooth. You can have control of students' behaviors. You have to refer to them often, and not just refer to them often, you have to pair them with reinforcement often in the beginning. You can fade reinforcement really quick, but in the beginning, it has to be effectively paired with reinforcement. So if somebody's attention motivated and they use the visual without your help, what do you need to give them? Attention. If somebody's escape motivated and they respond to the visual without additional prompting, what do you need to give them? Escape. You don't need to do the last two problems. You get a homework pass purely by responding to the visual. And then I can fade that out to where now they're using the visual all on their own. And now I can get rid of the visual and we are all independent. This is the process. All right. Ugh. So let's dive into it. Let's talk how to make this visual better. Oh, the dreaded clip chart. So many things about clip charts that I don't care for, right? It's a public shaming display of problem behavior. And it's always going to be those certain students that have less barriers and less struggles and more privilege than other students that are going to be at the top. And it's always those same at the bottom. And even if some one-time occurrence happens to a typically developing student that doesn't usually have problems and they get clipped down, it's traumatic, right? So what could you do here to make it better? What comes to your mind? If I want it to be positively stated, the bottom half shouldn't be there at all. There should be no clipping down. It should be a rocket and you only go up. If you're required to use a clip chart, it should only go up. I don't want to give attention to problematic behaviors. And if I have to clip you down, that's delivering attention to problem behaviors. It should only go up. So if you stay on green, that's great. Nothing outstanding happened that day. But as you show desired behaviors, you responded to a visual independently. Ooh, you came in from recess nicely. You can move up and then pair it with reinforcement. But it's not a public display of shame. All right, how can we make this visual better? Oh, the dojo points. When I see these done in classrooms, I see teachers often just go up to the smartboard and it's kind of like boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. And they kind of like click. But unless the teacher says, I love how Bailey is sitting in her seat nicely, and then gives me a dojo, you don't always know the behavior that you're trying to reinforce. Students don't always know that. And sometimes students aren't even sure who got dojo points because it happens so quick and it's all over the board. And if the board's really far away and there's multiple students on the dojo, page, it's kind of hard to tell who even got a point. How many do I have? What's the deal? Right? So what could you do to make it better? Maybe make it individualized. Maybe each student's something is just at their desk. I don't know. Dojos are just so hard. They can be effective, and it's a really nice online quick system. I can also say this. Ever heard of Nojos, where you take points away for problem behavior? What's the problem with that? Then you're giving attention for problem behaviors. If you want to give a consequence to problem behaviors, that's okay. But the consequence is not giving them the function of their behavior. Those are the only effective consequences. Keep that in mind. How can we make this visual better? Maybe this is reading books. Maybe it's positive behavior notes. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's clearly a public display of who the heck is doing better and who's not, right? Probably better to make it private. Right, so let's talk about making it better. Quick little video. Okay, you get the idea, right? They're earning oh yeah and oops points. What could we do to make that better? Are the oh yeah points okay? Yeah. What about the oops points? I mean, I guess it's pretty generic, right? It's not like she's delivering a lot of specific feedback, labeling the problems and correcting them. It also didn't seem like she was doing it student specific. It was whole class. So I appreciate that. And then it's just a quick oops, and then we just move on. So I think you just have to be really cautious to make sure that you don't get caught in a trap of delivering a lot of quality attention when giving oops points. And you sure have to make sure that you give way more oh yeah points than oops points for this system to be effective. And then she indicated then they earn donuts or something for like at the end of the month. I'm going to warn you, that's probably not fast enough. Maybe at the end of the year and you've worked up to they have to go a whole month, but man, at the beginning of the year, it better be daily that they are earning something with those oh yeah points. And then every couple of days, every 3 days, every week, and then you can start to stretch it. But to start with, it has to happen rapid fire fast, or else these systems, they're not valuable. They're not meaningful. I have to wait way too stinking long. I have to do way too much work. I'm out. All right. Here is your week 7 review one. There's only one review this week, but make sure that you go over to Blackboard to submit your week 7 review. And let me go through this just really quick. Okay, you guys get the point. Okay, so let's discuss this. I click off of it. Let's talk through these points just real quick. This is our last slide. Do you like that strategy? Makes sense. She's not giving a whole lot of attention. She's not even giving any attention to it in the moment that she's telling us anyway, right? Correcting behavior. She's just counting them. But does it have flaws? Yes, because what kind of behavior is she tracking? And then delivering the feedback on problems, interrupting or chattiness or whatever it is, right? So what if she started tracking? I'm going to count how many times the whole class is quiet while I'm talking. I'm going to count how many times the whole class listens the first time when I give a direction. Whatever your struggles is in your classroom, but state it positively and track the positive. And then the goal should be to increase that number, right? We always want to work on going up and we always want to work on focusing on the positive. How would this impact each function? If a student was escape motivated, is this strategy going to be effective? Probably not. If somebody's attention motivated, is this going to be effective? Maybe. If you've effectively minimized all attention for problems and you're not delivering feedback or correcting behaviors when you give those tallies, and you are only focused on that number decreasing, maybe, but that would be really hard to do if you're tracking undesired behaviors only. So how could you make it better? What are your thoughts? I sure hope that you have buy-in for only focusing on positive behaviors. All right, y'all, that is the end of week 7. Reach out if y'all need anything.